again, my little yarnivores and spiderettes and arachnids. Fiber Spider back again with another tutorial just for you. And today we've got ourselves a lovely knitted stitch. This is the Seersucker stitch. Gorgeous texture, love the diamonds, and it's actually quite simple. I think it would be perfect for a scarf, a wrap, a blanket, what have you. And of course I'm going to give you the multiples so that you can make this as wide or as narrow as you want to. And the beauty of this stitch, among other things, is that it does not curl. Yay! We like that, don't we? So there's no need to put a border on it if you don't want to. It lays perfectly flat. Extra bonus. And so this is, what one would, say that 5 times fast, what one would consider to be the front side. Now the back actually is also rather nice as well. Reminds me of the moss stitch. Okay, so truth be told, yes, this is an 8-row repeat. However, when you break it down, it's really not that bad because every row has an inverse row where you knit the purls and purl the knits, so that makes it rather simple. And 2 of those rows, well, they are repeated elsewhere in the pattern. So when you break it down completely, you only really have to worry about 3 rows out of those 8. So it's not that bad, okay? And we will get into that. Now, for this particular piece, I used Lion Brand's Pound of Love in the Oxford Grey, and I believe that I used a size 9 knitting needle. Now today, I'm going to be using a slightly more robust yarn. This is the Red Heart Super Saver Ombre in the colorway of Anemone. And because it is a bit more of a robust yarn, and I happen to have these handy, I'm going to be using size 10.5 DPNs for today's example. And, well, without further ado, let's get started. Okie dokie, so first things first, we have our cast on. Now, my preferred method of casting on is the knitted cast on. For those of you not familiar with it, we're going to do it right now. So, I'm going to start off with a slip knot, and that actually is going to count as our first stitch cast on. And going to get the tail to the left and proceed by casting on. It's going to be a multiple of 4 plus 1. So yeah, you can make this as wide or as narrow as you want to. So to do the knitted cast on, go into that stitch as if to knit, wrap, pull that loop up and through, and then going around the back there, and there you go. And that is 2 stitches. So I'm going to do a bunch. I think I'm going to do maybe a total of 17. So just around and through. There we go. Now, the reason why I like this cast-on method is because you don't have to worry about having a long enough tail. Also, I find that this cast-on, it's a bit more stretchy and a bit more flexible. So I do prefer this method myself. Now, if you want a more in-depth look at how to do this cast on, I will put a link in the description box down below on a video that I did on this previously. Now, when you're cinching up your stitches, you don't want to go too terribly tight, which I have a tendency of doing, but hey. There we go. Just sort of snug against the needle. And how many do I have thus far? Let's see, I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, getting there. 11, 12. By the way, also, as far as what kind of yarn that I would recommend for this particular stitch, I would definitely suggest a sort of a clean worsted or something of that sort. I would not recommend a yarn with a lot of texture or a halo. Would not recommend that, because you want this stitch to have some definition, some structure for those diamonds to pop. As far as colorway, ombres are always good. Quick changing variegateds, honestly, it would get muddled with the texture. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Need 3 more. 15. 16. And 1 more. So I would say a solid color or a slow changing ombre would work really nicely with this particular stitch. As always, it's just my personal recommendation. So now that we have our stitches, we shall get started in with row 1. All right, so once you have your multiple of 4 plus an additional stitch, we can get started with row 1. So going to hop right in with our repeat, and then we will add an additional stitch as necessary. So I'm going to start in with knitting 2, and then purl 1, also the first row is always the hardest, and then it gets a little bit easier because you have something to work with, So after knitting 2, purling 1, we are then going to proceed by knitting 3 and purling 1 until we reach the end. So knit 3, 1, 2, 3, purl 1, there we go, and then knit 3, 1, 2, and 3, bring it to the front and purl 1, there we go, to the back, knit 3, okay, bring it to the front, purl 1, okay, bring it to the back, and we can't knit 3 at this point because we don't have 3 stitches, so we're just going to knit the last 2 stitches. So far, pretty darn easy. And there you go. That is the end of row 1. Now, of course, it does not look like much yet. Emphasis on the word yet, but we're getting there. Row 2. Okay, now, the even rows are basically an inverse of what we just did. So we're going to be purling the purls and knitting the knits. It's really that simple. So if you can read your work, well, that's half the battle. So when you see these little purl bumps, like here and here, well, we're going to purl those. And then we don't have a purl bump, so that is a knit stitch, then 3 purl bumps, and then a knit stitch, 3 purl bumps. So if you can read the stitches, yes, that definitely helps. If not, well, I'm going to walk you through it regardless. So, going to start with purling the first 2 stitches. Come on. Come on. There we go. So purl the first 2. Yarn to the back. And knit 1. So you can see, yeah, there's no bump there. So we're going to knit that one. Yarn to the front. Purl the next 3. Yarn to the back. Knit the next stitch. Yarn to the front. Purl the next 3. So we are, in essence, doing the exact same thing, but the opposite as the first row. Okay, got those 3 purls. Yarn to the back. Knit the next stitch. Also, if you ever want to skip ahead, timestamps are in the description box, as always. Yarn to the front, purl the next 3. 1, 2, and 3. Yarn to the back. Knit the next stitch. Yarn to the front. And we would purl 3, but we only have 2 stitches left, so we're just going to purl those last 2 stitches. And that, my dears, is the end of row 2. And there you are. Okay, rows 3 and 4 are very, very easy, and they are also going to show up row 7 and 8. That's why I'm saying this pattern, it looks a lot harder than it is, but when you break it down, it's pretty easy. So row 3 couldn't be simpler. Row 3 is going to be just knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, all the way across until we reach the very end. So knit and purl. To the back so we can do a knit. To the front for a purl, and so on and so forth. Really, really quite simple. So for those of you that want to increase your repertoire of various stitches, but you're most comfortable with doing knits and purls and not getting into all sorts of crazy yarn overs and decreased stitches and so forth, so on and so forth. You know, I mean, I understand that. Sometimes simplicity isn't a bad thing because it is still quite versatile. I mean, for one, I love the moss stitch. However, this is a bit more complex, yet it's still sort of in the same family, if you will. Okay, a couple more to go. Into the back and knit to the front and purl to the back and knit to the front and purl. There we go. And then last stitch, just going to knit that last stitch. And there you go. So that is row 3. Now again, yes, I know it doesn't look like much, but we haven't even done a full repeat yet. But we're getting there, slowly but surely. All right, let's proceed on to row 4. Okay, so row 4, like I said before, it's going to be the reverse of what we just did, and it's going to be a matter of purling the purls and knitting the knits. So instead of starting off knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, it's going to be purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. Now, it sort of looks like that there's a purl bump here, but if you sort of scooch down the stitches, you can see that the bump is here, but not here. Okay, because that's one row below. So if you just look closely, you can actually read your stitching. So that being said, we're going to start with purl and then knit and proceed in that fashion all the way across. So purl and knit. And purl. And knit. Purl. Now also, I may have misspoken earlier. I tend to get tongue-tied, I will be the first to admit. If I had said that we knit the purls and purl the knits, no, it's purl the purls and knit the knits. So if I misspoke earlier, please forgive. I get a little bit scatterbrained, I admit. Never trying to be confusing at any given point. You know, for those of you that have been following me for any length of time know that I try my best to be thorough, clear, and concise. So just working our way through here. These sets of rows really make the work fly by, in my opinion. Makes it so that, you know, every other row you really don't have to think much about what it is that you're doing. You can just sort of go on autopilot and, you know, have a little bit of a zenful moment, if you will. Okay, just a few more, and then we'll be done with this row. Okie dokie, knit, and then finish off with a purl at the end. And there you go. So that is the end of row 4. Let us proceed on to row 5. All right, so row 5 is going to be another one of those rows where we incorporate 3 knit stitches, but of course the diamonds are offset, right? So that being said, we're going to start row 5 with a purl. and then we will get into the knit stitches. So for row 5, purl 1, and then knit 3. 1, 2, and 3. Purl 1, knit 3, purl 1, and knit 3, 1, 2, and 3, purl 1, knit 3, and last but not least, we're going to purl the last stitch to the front and purl, and there you go. That is the end of row 5. Okay, row 6. So again, row 6, it's going to be, because it's an even row, we're going to be doing the stitches as we see them. So as you can see, we've got 3 purl bumps right here. So it's knit, purl 3, knit, purl 3, knit, purl 3, and so forth all the way across. We're just playing it as we see it. So knit 1, and purl 3, 1, 2, and 3, yarn to the back, knit 1, yarn to the front, purl 3, there we go, yarn to the back, knit 1, yarn to the front, purl 3, and so on and so forth. Okay, and yarn to the back, knit 1, yarn to the front, purl 3, yarn to the back, and knit that last stitch. All right, onwards and upwards. All right, row 7. Now at this point, you should really start to see the diamonds taking shape. I mean, the very bottom, it's sort of ziggy-zaggy, and then, up here, it's starting to really form those diamonds. Now, row 7 and 8, like I said, they are essentially what we did for rows 3 and 4. Now, as you're tooling along and working your pattern, you might be like, oh, what row am I on? Well, let me tell you, there are ways of being able to figure out where you are with the pattern. So since I did the knitted cast on, my tail, with the right side facing me, the tail is going to be on the left. If, however, if you did a long tail cast on instead of a knitted cast on, the long tail cast on, it would be on the right side for the right side facing you. Now, this is important, so that's why I'm sharing it with you. So if you're at this point where you have 1 purl and 3 knits, 1 purl, 3 knits, or so on and so forth, you are then going to want to do these next 2 rows. It's going to be either row 7 and 8 or rows 3 and 4. It is the row where you're going to be doing the knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl to break up this solid bunch of knit stitches. Okay, so let's get to it. Going to do our knit, purl all the way across, and then we will do our purl, knit all the way across. So knit and purl all the way across. And then I'm going to show you how you can, again, how you can read your work to see what you need to do next as far as staggering your diamonds. Because as much as I love showing you what to do, I also love showing you why we do what we do, being able to read your stitches so that you won't necessarily have to have the pattern at hand to know how to proceed. That is my goal. And sometimes I hope I can accomplish that. So just doing my knits and my purls. I was actually tempted to, I was tempted to incorporate some of my French that I've been picking up lately. Yes, I've been studying French, and numbers I'm fine with, but as far as crocheting and knitting terms, not yet there. No, I mean, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9. I think it's 9. And 10. Getting there. All right, so. And purl, and then going to knit that last stitch. And then we can do the mirror of what we just did for row 8. So there we go. That is row 7. Looking nice and pretty. Oh, yes, indeed. Let's go on to row 8. Okay, last but certainly not least, row 8. We're going to purl the purls and knit the knits all the way across. So, yeah, we're going to start off with a purl. There we are. And then work a knit. And so on and so forth all the way across. And then I'm going to show you what I was talking about as far as reading your stitching. Now, also another side note, completely unrelated. I've been I don't know. I've been having the hankering to get another tattoo. The one that I currently have is a Celtic knot, but I just have this. I don't know, this yen to get another one, and I have a bunch in mind, and I was thinking one of them might be something along the lines of knit fast, dye warm, or because I am ambistitchual and I like to knit as well as crochet, I was thinking about stitch fast, dye warm, and incorporate some sort of yarny goodness into the tattoo. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments section. I don't want to have something too cliche, but I would like to get something at some point. Okie dokie, and just a couple more. And there we go. Purl that last stitch, and that is the end of row 8. Very nice. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you, it's going to be row 1 and which one is it? Yes, row 1 and row 5, because those are the rows that are different than the others. Because you have rows 3 and 4, which it's, like a mirror image of each other, and then you've got row 7 and 8, again, same thing, it's just knit, purl, knit, purl. However, it's rows 1 and 5, those are the different ones that help to stagger the diamonds. That's the important thing to create that visual effect. Now, if you look closely, again, reading the stitches, if you look closely, you can see that we have a line here, a vertical line of knit stitches, quite a long line, and then we have another one over here, and then down here we have them as well, here and here and here. Those lines of knit stitches, that is the length of one of the diamonds, okay? So if you're going to be staggering your diamonds, that means that this stitch right here needs to break up that existing diamond. So without even looking at the pattern, it would be a matter of doing 2 knit stitches, then a purl, then 3 knit stitches, purl, 3 knit stitches, purl, 3 knit stitches, purl, breaking up that line of knit stitches, okay? And it's breaking those lines of knit stitches up that help with the staggering of the pattern. So it would be knit the first 2 to get it started, and then breaking up this line with a purl, and then doing our patterning of 3 knit, 1 purl, 3 knit, 1 purl, all the way to the end. So knit, 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 breaking up this line of knit stitches with a purl, knit the next 3, knit, 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 breaking up this line of knit stitches with a purl, to the back, do 3 knits, knit, knit, breaking up this line with a purl. And then last but not least, knit the last 2 stitches. Now what I'm going to do off camera is I'm going to get up to row 5. And of course, yes, if you want to utilize the timestamps in the description box down below, I'm going to skip ahead to row 5. I'm going to knit all those rows, and then I'm going to show you again how to sort of identify where you're at, so that you could be like, all right, is it a row 1 or is it a row 5? Okay. And of course, row 2 would be purling the purls, knitting the knits, and then it's a knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, and then a purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. You know, it's really, really simple once you break it down. I know I keep saying that, but I'm trying to instill, you know, a sense of like, it's really not that bad, because it's not once you break it down. I know I'm repetitious. I know. At any rate, I'm going to keep on keeping on. I'll see you when I am ready for row 5. All right, I'll see you shortly. Okay, so I worked up to row 5, and now you can see that we have our long lines of stitches here and here and here, okay, which means that we need to break up our stitches with purls here and here and here with knit stitches in between. So that means that if this one right here is going to be a purl to break up this line, and we only do 3 knit stitches in between the purls, then that means that we're going to start off with a purl, do 3 knits, and then another purl, 3 knits, another purl, 3 knits, another purl, 3 knits, and end with a purl. It's all about the pattern and how to read the stitching. All right, so going to work my way across in my inimitable fashion. Going to start with a purl. There we are. And then knit the next 3. One, 2, and 3. And then we have to break up this line of knit stitches with a purl stitch. And then to the back, knit the next 3. 1, 2, 3. Yarn to the front because we have to break up this line of knit stitches with a purl. Yarn to the back so that I can knit the next 3. 1, 2, and 3. Yarn to the front, break up this line of knit stitches with a purl. Knit the next 3. There we go. And then finish up with a purl at the end. There you go. So after this, of course, row 6 would be following suit with what we just did. So it would be knit 1, purl 3, knit 1, purl 3, knit 1, purl 3, etc., etc. And then, because our yarn at that point would be on this side and this would be the right side facing, we would then proceed with a knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, and then a purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, and then we would be back where we started from so that we could do row 1 all over again. And there you go. I hope that that makes sense. And of course, yes, you can go along with the timestamps and follow along, but I like to try to explain, as I've said, not just the how, but the why, so that you can continue on your merry little way and, just be able to go based on what you see with your stitches, identify the stitches, and, well, have a blast doing it. So there you are, the Seersucker stitch. Alrighty, my dears, so that is going to conclude today's tutorial on the Seersucker stitch. I really hope that you liked it, and if you did, please give a little thumbs up button down below. You know that I appreciate your appreciation because I try to go the extra mile and make sure that these are comprehensible tutorials for you guys. Now, one last thing, as far as the bind-off, me personally, I like the Stretchy Bind-Off. I'm not entirely sure that it's the right bind-off for this stitch because it seems to have expanded the top edge a little bit. I will put a link to it in the description box down below regardless. I don't know. Tell me what you think, because this fabric does have a nice give to it. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. You tell me. But yes, I will put a link to that down below. And I hope that you like this. So let me know in the comments section, what are you going to do with this stitch? A scarf or a wrap, a blanket? This would be a lovely texture for a baby blanket, I think. Let me know what you're going to do in the comments section. Always interested in hearing about your creative journey and your process and everything. So yeah, drop me a line. Let me know. And you know what to do until next time, right? I want all of you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, stay stitching, and please stay safe. Take care of yourselves and each other. Make something snuggly for them. And I will see you in my next video. Have a great day, everybody, and bye for now.